everybody. Flip and Danny here, and our special guest, Ben, is here. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, and our podcast is called
Freedom Through Passive Income.
That's right, and boy, we're getting loopy here. This is Coffee Talk number 19. I think we're at 6, right?
I think we're at 6.
This is Coffee Talk number 6, where Ben's asking us questions. So again, Ben, take it away.
In a sentence, how would you describe the mission of the Freedom Companies?
I believe in freedom through passive income. So I believe in freedom through passive income for us and for everybody that we are surrounded with. In a sentence, that is our passion and it is our why.
Why would an investor, we have people that are just getting to know us, why would an investor be more drawn to us at the Freedom Companies as opposed to other companies in the real estate space?
I think the one thing that, and we hear this over and over, that we're just real people. We're not, I made a joke in one of the other episodes that Danny used a 5-syllable word. We're not pretentious. We're not. It's not. Yes, we want to make sure that your investments are solid, and yes, we want to make sure that our companies are run like a fine machine. But we're just everyday normal people. We laugh, we have fun. We want to make sure that it's a family here, and and we are the investors are just an extension of the family. They're like first and second cousins. We're all still family. So that's what I mean. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely 100% the right answer. I left brain it, and I think business when you ask a question like that. And so for me, and what I've heard from many people is the vertically integrated operations, right? That we have so many arms that we can control things in-house. Mm-hmm. And people have heard the story of why we did it, because we did outsource it, and it wasn't working. And we weren't going to be able to build the business that we wanted by relying on somebody that we ultimately couldn't rely on. So we had to bring it in-house. And then the next company we had to bring in-house. And then the next company. And having it and people knowing that literally if there's a problem with property management now, that we can walk down the hallway and knock on a door and say, Chris, will you get on the phone with Joe? And we can solve problems that way. I think it gives people a lot more confidence. And it really just kind of helps them know that this team, they have thought through the process of what needs to happen in an investment, and they've figured out how to keep their hands and put together a lot of people that just care about the end game. Because as you know, Ben, from being here, everybody cares about the property management team cares about the renovations. The renovation team cares about the tenant experience once they get in the door, and they all work together. Mm-hmm. And that matters, and that's what sets us apart from everybody else who might be relying on somebody who doesn't care as much.
What do you think is nobody knows the future. What do you think is in store for real estate here in the coming weeks and months, and how will that affect your core business of turnkey and the multifamily type of work and the funds that we're doing?
That's a great question. I think that there's opportunity always. It doesn't matter what market we're in. Sometimes it means that you simply have to buy better. Sometimes it means that you focus on a different aspect of it. So maybe not value add, maybe just cash flow. You buy B or A class properties because you're in an inflationary environment and your goal is to raise rents. And in those types of asset classes, you are going to be more successful in raising rents. Maybe there's a different aspect of it, meaning if it's a down market, you switch your buying strategy and you start buying things via owner financing or subject to and doing wraps. And there's something to do in every single market. And with enough experience, you know how to navigate it and pivot. And I remember posting something in Google Chat and you responding going, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and it's nice that you're going, okay, let's look 3 or 4 months ahead. And what does that mean for us? And how do we need to start considering the possible pivots that we're going to make in order to ensure that we're just focused on the right thing at the right time?
How do the mastermind groups that you're in with people with long track records of experience, how does that help you pivot, to prepare to pivot and to actually pivot?
I think it's critical for everybody, most importantly, people who haven't experienced a market cycle type, right? If you haven't been in a down market, if you didn't live through 2008, then you're going to want to be surrounded by people who did, because a lot of people thought this was or could have been 2008. They started the COVID, and now we're in this inflationary environment, and we have rising interest rates, and some people related it. But if you knew that environment and you lived through it, you know that this is completely different, and you're not going to act the same as you did then. You're going to do some similar things, but it's not the same. And so having those people that have been through it, I think, change the game for you. And even COVID, brand new, none of us could have predicted that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. None of us have lived through an event like that. And so we all banded together and said, what's happening in your market? Mm-hmm. What's happening in yours? What's happening in yours? And what are you each doing about it? And how is it working? And we took that knowledge base, and it helped us get through it, because everybody was experiencing the same thing, and we were all helping each other and going, I just tried this, it worked. And so everybody now, has the power to take that knowledge, and, you learn faster because you were surrounded with the right people.
When you watch news report media, bad news is a big seller. Making horrific predictions and being right is somehow a good badge of honor for a lot of media people, the way to look at that. These very uncertain, very unpleasant scenarios that sometimes we hear on the media, do you feel that with the mastermind that it's navigatable, no matter what happens, whatever turns we have in the economy? Is there a way with experienced operators to be able to pivot and be able to work with investors' money and be able to take all of us together through that?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
100%. Because of what I just explained, we're all sharing, and we're all talking through what's going on in the market, what's working, what's not working. And that type of free information back and forth with people who have experience and have been through different market cycles, that's what you want to tap into, right? And for those of you who aren't actively investors, you want to tap into the people that are tapping into all the active investors right. and who are talking and sharing, hey, this is what's happening in Massachusetts, this is what's happening in New York, because markets can be different too. Mm-hmm. Even as things started to slow down, right? And prices, you weren't getting above average offers here in the last few months. Every market was different in terms of how fast that happened, but we all got to see, okay, these types of markets, they're still in this stage, and this type of market is in this stage, and you can just make better decisions 100% of the time when you do that.
And I think this is our final question here for today as we're recording this podcast. New investors to the Freedom Companies, what should they be focused on? And for those of us who've been investing for years now, what should we remain focused on as investors?
I'm going to say new investors, just defining your goals. You have to understand where you want to go before you start knowing what type of questions to ask. And I think you do a good job of that when you're talking to investors, right? You start asking them certain things. If they don't know, if they can't express to you what they want to do, to ask certain questions so you can say, oh, okay, so, and then you give them a sentence and they say, yes. All right, now I understand. And I think some people go into those calls maybe not knowing, but they have a lot of clarity after they leave, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really, really important for new investors. For experienced investors, it's continuing to be surrounded by people that you trust and that you can place your money with without thinking twice about it, right? And that's what we talked about when people say, I have 50, and then suddenly they have 300, and then later they have 2 million. It's because they found where they want to be putting their money. They found the team that they trusted, and now they can go to work and be like, my money's working for me, and they feel confident and not scared, right? And that is a process, but you have to start somewhere, and the first step is usually talking to somebody like you.
Well, thank you for sharing over this for all of us. It's always amazing to look into the minds of people. One of the things that I've expressed this on previous podcasts, the two of you are people of action. And it's just, it's amazing to learn how you view the world and how you view challenges and how you view fear, and be able to work through it, or to be able to use the fear, even though it's not necessarily pleasant all the time, to your advantage. So thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Thank you for the coffee talk episodes. They were fun. We have to do more in the future.
I think I said 5 words that episode, so that has to be the best episode out of the entire year.
Hey, you guys started off with jokes, just saying.
Yes,
For real.
exactly. Oh, well, we hope that you enjoyed this episode, especially because I didn't talk. Make sure you're heading on over to our website, freedomcapitalinvestments.com, and join the Investor Club and catch us in all the social medias. But we like to end all of our episodes with
Invest smart.
Live happy. Bye, everybody. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions and information on the show are not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit and loss.